Hello again and welcome back to the studio. Small studies are an efficient way to experiment with different styles and colors before committing them to canvas. When we're doing small studies, it doesn't matter if we make mistakes, the pressure's off, we're just having fun, we're just practicing our strokes and our colors and just seeing what we can do with the tools that we have.
To make our small cupcake study today, we'll need some titanium white, magenta, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, and raw umber. We'll start by making our sketch with some diluted raw umber. We start with a triangle shape with rounded corners for the top and a little bit of a rectangle shape for the cupcake holder. I made the sides of my holder concave, but you could do them straight if you prefer. You could also add some diagonal lines to indicate the shape of the frosting if you prefer. I'm going to add in the darkest dark, which is a mix of the raw umber mixed together with a little of the ultramarine blue. This will give us a very dark brown, which is good for the cake part of our cupcake and for the shadow underneath the cupcake holder. I decided that the cupcake holder was a little bit too long, so I shortened it at this point. Now we're going to mix together some yellow ochre and white for the frosting and block that in. Now we'll mix together some magenta, a little bit of raw umber, and a little touch of white to make the color of the cupcake case. Now while you've still got that color on your brush, you can just put a little bit into the yellow frosting at the top and make your lines in the same direction as the swirls are going in the frosting. This will just add some interest to that area. Now our cupcake's looking a little bit flat or 2D. To make it look more 3D, we're going to add some form, and we're going to use a little bit of shading to do this. In the yellow area where the frosting is, you can add a tiny touch of raw umber to your yellow mix, and just add it only on one side of your cupcake. And I've chosen to do the left-hand side because my light is coming in from the right. Just softly blend it in, not too much, just a little bit. We're going to work on the cupcake case now. We'll add some darker lines by adding a little bit of raw umber to our magenta mix from before, and we'll just make a few lines to indicate the folds in the paper. For the background, we mix together some of our ultramarine blue and some white, and just use it to go around your cupcake, and you can adjust the shape a little if you need to as you go along. Always find it helpful when you're putting in a background just to go as close as you can to the object and adjust it as necessary. Now I added a suggestion of a plate or a surface for my cupcake to stand on. I just used some diluted raw umber to outline that. And then I picked some white with a little bit of the yellow ochre to create the color of the plate or the surface for the cupcake. I blended this color in because I wanted it to be quite a thin coat, because I'd like to see the underground shining through a little bit. Now we'll mix together a little yellow ochre with white to make some light areas for the frosting on our cupcake. And using what's already on the brush, just with that dirty brush now, you can go in between the dark lines that we put on the cupcake holder from before, just to create the highlighted areas. My favorite part is adding the details at the end of a painting, and for this we're going to make a nice light mix of yellow ochre and white, a much lighter mix than before, and just add a few highlights here and there to the frosting and to parts of the cupcake holder. I also went back in with some of that raw umber mix that we used for the cupcake itself, and I added just a few zigzaggy lines at the top of the cupcake paper to make it look more realistic. And then just using what's left on the brush after doing the cake, I'll re-establish that shadow underneath the cupcake and put a little shadow on the table next to it. Just using that dirty brush from before. We just want a grayish color shadow on a white plate. Your brush will have picked up some of the white from the plate, and you can use that just to make a little bit of a highlight on the cake part of your cupcake. We're going to put our brightest lights on now, which is just our titanium white, and we're going to add a little bit of definition to one side of the plate only, the side that would be lit from the light source. In this case, it's the right-hand side. And we can add a tiny dot of white to the tip of each part of the icing, just to make it stand out a bit more. Now all we need is some beautiful sprinkles or some kind of decoration. You could put a cherry or some Smarties or any other kind of sprinkles that you would like on your cupcake. I just used some of the titanium white mixed in with our blue and a little bit of the magenta just to make some colored sprinkles. I just tidied up some of my lines that had got lost in the painting process. Well, I've been having so much fun with this sketch that it's tempting to keep going, but I think I'll just add a few more sprinkles to the plate and then finish it off. There we go. Delicious. If only it was a real cupcake. So much for following along and for joining in the tutorial. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and please hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.